Hi there, it's Ben from Multifuls, and I'm here just to introduce our first Young People's panel discussion. Here, a few members from our ensemble are sharing their thoughts and feelings about an idea that we think is really relevant to us at the minute. It's wrong to feel bad about your cancelled plans, when so many people are suffering much worse. Here at Multifuls, we've had to come to terms with the cancellation of a major plan, with our Relentless tour being unable to go ahead. Relentless was a fully devised show by our ensemble cast, exploring the pressures felt by young people when growing up in today's day and age. Being a participant in similar previous projects, I know just how much time and emotional energy the Relentless cast will have put into the show, and how excited they were to share it with new audiences. So many people are having to adjust to such huge lifestyle changes. We think it's important to talk about them as much as possible during these strange times.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our first panel discussion. Today we've got a great panel of young people. If each of our young people can introduce themselves one at a time.
I'm Eddie and I'm a part of the MFI Tea Ensemble group.
Hi, I'm Mina. I'm a member of MFI Tea Ensemble.
I'm Ben and I'm a member of MFI Tea Ensemble.
And I'm Sophie, and I'm not a current member, but I used to be.
So we also have other young people participating, and they are going to be submitting questions to today's discussion. So today's prompt question is:
It's wrong to feel bad about your cancelled plans, when so many people are suffering much worse.
And let's discuss it. Who's got something they'd like to start with?
I would go as far as to say that everybody's kind of suffering at the minute in one way or another. Someone might have planned to see their grandma and then they can't anymore, or another person might have planned to go to Australia for a month or something, and they might have just as much sentimental value as one another. So I don't think it's wrong to feel I don't think it's wrong to feel sad.
Thank you, Sophie, for kicking us off. Eddie's raised his hand. Let's hear what Eddie's got to say on the point.
For example, with our youth theatre, our tour of our show Relentless was cancelled, and for us that had a really kind of sentimental value, but it wasn't as big as other things. So other people are kind of suffering more from the lockdown than I am by not doing my theatre show.
Can we compare suffering? Is suffering just suffering? And is it right to have a scale of suffering?
The thing is, at the end of the day, the world is constantly suffering. It's just that it's only been brought to our attention now because it's worldwide. You can't compare suffering at some level.
I'm not feeling guilty for kind of feeling disappointed, but I am just kind of feeling disappointed and kind of isolated from other people, and I kind of want to get back to my old life. I know a lot of people have taken this opportunity to take up learning a language or something. I'm not sure how far people are getting with that.
Is there anybody on the panel who has been feeling guilty about those things and thinking that maybe they're feeling those feelings and that they shouldn't be feeling them?
In my personal life, I'm missing a festival in the summer, and I felt a bit guilty about almost prioritising that in my mind at first over the horrible situation that's going on. But I just feel the situation is it's such a hard one, and people are losing their lives, and workers are strained, and I think it's a situation where it's best if these things are cancelled, and it's all for the greater good, and it's time for these things to happen again. There's going to be this festival hopefully next year. Who's
had anything else? So is there anything that's personal that's been cancelled?
Well, me and my friends were supposed to go interrailing for a month or something in the summer, so that's been cancelled. Obviously exams, which kind of when I first heard that, I was really upset about. And all my friends were, which is weird. You'd think everyone would be oh yeah, you don't have to revise, but yeah, I don't know, it's just weird.
We've got a comment that's just come up where we've had someone say that they feel guilty for feeling sorry for themselves when they see photos on the news and so on of NHS staff, so people who are working on the front line.
I definitely feel that, but I feel I have to do something about that. The biggest thing we can do to help the NHS is to stay at home, and we can kind of show how much we appreciate them by kind of doing these fundraisers and clapping, which is literally the least we can do to show our appreciation.
We have had a question and comment from Eliza, who says, how can we find ways to at least ease the suffering of COVID-19?
Every day I try and set a task for myself to do. Baking is usually the thing. Bake today. When you set yourself a task, you can usually go through with it, and I think that's always a good way to like start, and then sometimes you can build it up. Like you can end up doing like 6, 7, 8 tasks in a day, and then you feel great, because that would be like, well, for us it would be more than what a school day would be.
I've just looked at it as like, although we're not free in the sense that we can leave the house, I find like a sense of freedom in the fact that we can do so many things indoors, just doing things that you would never have the chance to be able to do in your busy schedule.
But also, one of my friends said to me the other day that he feels like he's wasting the time. I feel like I am wasting a bit of this time. We might look back in hindsight and think we could have done more.
We've got an interesting comment that kind of moves us on to the effects of the social distancing, which I think is really interesting, from Scott. So he said social distancing does have negative effects on mental health due to loneliness. Is it wrong to feel guilty about wanting to stop social distancing if it is affecting your mental health?
There are other ways, like you can get online counselling. There's like all these websites you can go on. You can like FaceTime your friends. That can help too, just because like if you do kind of break the rules, like it could have like an impact, and then it's kind of like, I'd personally feel guilty about like all the NHS workers.
I don't think the word guilty is right. Like if you had a festival booked, or you had something like a mental health issue, they'd still happen, despite the fact that other places in the world would be suffering. It's just not global, and it's just not in our faces 24/7. The only reason this feels so constant is because every time we open the news, it's a death count, it's an NHS worker who's been taken to the floor, tackled by a nurse or whatever. It's just constantly happening, and you can't get it out your face.
Mental health is something that I feel like incredibly strong about, but it's just ultimately, if everyone who is feeling lonely decides that they're gonna break the regulations and they're gonna go out, then it's only gonna it's gonna reverse the flattening of the curve and the progress that we've already made. So it's only gonna, in the long run, worsen and lead to possibly harsher lockdown rules where you won't even be able to leave the house full stop.
Hortz has mentioned, how do young people feel about celebrities and influencers who are streaming things like prom DJ sets, encouraging young people to get dressed up at home so they can still have moments like prom with their friends? Do they think that's a good thing?
Like it would be nice, it would be like a uniting effect, like doing it with people you've never met before, but I feel like I'd be too awkward.
We did exactly that kind of last night. We had a quiz, but it was like a dressed up quiz, and we had drinks and everything. It's really good that they're doing that for the people who would like to engage with that. But for me, and thinking about my prom, I would much rather have a prom at Christmas or just whenever we can have a prom than have an online one, because you just don't get the same physical contact.
So Fiona has said, how does the panel feel about other key workers like teachers, especially teachers who teach young people who have special educational needs, where social distancing can be really challenging, and things like delivery workers? And then Eliza added to that and said, and do you think these kind of workers have been injusticed because they're lacking as much recognition as someone like an NHS worker?
It's really important that we do keep acknowledging them, because you kind of forget that like they're there.
Only a year ago, teachers would take the piss out of supermarket workers in class, saying, "Oh, you don't want to work in Tesco's," you know. And the government have used kind of the words "unskilled jobs" aren't important. But I think this crisis have proved that if the people at the bottom, the supermarket workers, the postmen, and that sort of stuff, if you take them out, we're screwed. But if you take out the people at the top, the Prime Minister, everyone's fine.
Have we got one more question that we can take today?
Really nice acknowledgements just on the chat about different workers and people getting acknowledgement. For example, Eliza's mum is a key worker and got a rainbow card left on her car. One other question that we've had that's about something new, or comment, is from Thomas, saying, I've seen groups of people, obviously not from the same household or the same area. Should I feel guilty about not doing anything about it, not commenting on that?
was on the phone to my grandma, and she'll like look out the window and she'll like look for them. Like if someone's walking in more than a 3, my grandma's like on the phone telling me about it. You do want to kind of get angry at these people who go out and you're like you should know. Although my grandma did shout at them with a broom. In some ways it is fair, because you're like, well, if you get to go outside, why don't I get to go outside?
Working in Tesco at the minute, you see a lot of people come in like multiple times, and like I never know whether to report it or not. Like,
I was on my government regulated daily 1 hour of exercise, and I saw a group of like lads who, they could just be brothers, you don't know, but like they were out together, and I was thinking that's so selfish, and like, why people are making so many sacrifices and you're going out to meet your mates. But then I was also thinking, what if they're just, what if they are just 3 brothers, and you don't want to like call them out in case you completely embarrass yourself. But it's a hard one.
Zoe's made some interesting comments that haven't really been raised yet, saying she understands the need to challenge people or feeling the urge to say something, but personally has an issue with people being shamed on social media for it. Zoe thinks there are different ways to approach it, and that we don't need any more hostility at the moment.
The point of what they're trying to do never really comes across, because it always ends up just turning into an argument. And I would never ever encourage someone to shame someone on social media. You should think twice before confronting anyone, because you just don't know the circumstance.
Great, I think that's really strong advice from Eddie to finish. So I am going to draw this issue of our discussion panel to a close. So we started off discussing it's wrong to feel guilty about your cancelled plans when so many people are suffering much worse. We've talked about social media, we've talked about different influences that people are seeing, we're talking about different experiences that people have had seeing people out in their family groups, as well as personal feelings about their own cancelled plans. So I hope those of you that have been watching have found this really interesting. This is the first panel that we've done, and we're looking forward to doing more. And we're also going to involve young people from other organisations. So if you see this discussion and you're a young person who'd be interested in taking part, or you're from an organisation that would like to be involved in these panels, then please get in touch. We'll put the email address up at the end for you to contact us. And thanks very much to all our panellists. That's Eddie, Mina, Ben and Sophie, and to everyone who's contributed questions to this discussion. And we'll see you again soon.